There you go. So, as it relates to criticism, when I wanted to start this podcast, the thing that kept me from doing it the most for 2 years was like, wait a minute. So people can like give me feedback and I can't respond to them? Because like if someone posts something on a Facebook post or on an online article, I can respond, right? But with podcasts, it's like people can just say what the fuck ever and you don't even get to respond. And that, for whatever reason, was freaking me out. And so it kept me from doing that for so long. So I want to share with you what I've learned about dealing with feedback. Now, we can deal with feedback from friends and family about our personality and this and that, but this is really about when you are exposing yourself and putting yourself out there when it comes to your livelihood. Like you're an artist, you write, you paint, you create, you put out podcasts, blog posts, you're doing presentations, getting on stage, all of that, right? So I have many artist friends. Like I lived in California, I knew many actors, lived in Ashland, Oregon, which is like a Shakespeare town with many actors. And what I noticed was that they were like very thick-skinned, many of them. And I was like, how did you do that? How did you get to be able to tolerate like all of this criticism? Because y'all, for many professions, there are people like paid to critique them, like chefs, right? There's like food critics, but actors, there's movie critics, film critics, theater critics, right? I mean, it's like people are paid to scrutinize your work. And like, yeah, we had to do it over time, got better at it. Listen, one way for you to avoid being affected by criticism is to live small. It's true. You can live a vanilla life. You can not take any risks, not put yourself out there, and you're probably not going to receive a lot of criticism. Because the more we're out there, the more we expose ourselves to other people, the more we are willing to take risks, the more criticism we're going to get. It's statistically inevitable because we can't please everyone, right? The first time I got a criticism on a Facebook ad I did or something, it was like I had a picture of a woman rock climbing in jeans, and some fucking who knows what was like, oh, this person clearly doesn't know what they're talking about. Total poser, because people don't climb in jeans. And I was like, oh, that's funny, because I have all these pictures of me climbing in Joshua Tree in jeans. So I posted one and I was like so upset about it. And my business coach was like, congratulations. This means people are listening to you. They're seeing your work. Like you are reaching enough people that you got a criticism. This is a good thing. So I want to remind you that it is an option to play vanilla, to stay small, to live a normal life. Totally okay if the idea of going beyond that freaks you out. But there's two kinds of pain, right? We have the pain from taking the risk and potentially being criticized or getting that criticism. And we have the pain from not following our dreams, right? We have, if we're going to feel pain either way, if we're going to feel pain from taking the risk, living an unconventional life, fucking going for it, putting ourselves out there, and then having people criticize us, if we're going to do that, that's one kind of pain. But I have found that for me, and I'm guessing for many of you, because many of my peeps are freedom junkies, you're rebels, you want to help people live unconventional lives. Like the pain of wondering what if, the pain of not going out there is fucking worse. So if you're going to choose between two kinds of pain, the pain of potential criticism, potential, because you may not even fucking get it, right? The pain from putting yourself out there, or the pain of not even trying, I would rather choose the potential risk, right? And if you don't want to, that's okay, but make it a conscious choice and know that there's discomfort on both ends. And I want to encourage you to choose the discomfort that has you at least aligning and moving towards your dreams, okay? And you're like, that's nice, Anna, but what the fuck do I do with that discomfort, right? So let's talk about some of those. So one is to not read the criticism, right? Like if I write an article, a fairly provocative article, and people are making all kinds of comments on it, I can choose to not read them. Like I wrote one for Elephant Journal recently, and all these motherfuckers were like, oh, you seem like such an angry feminist. And like, it was totally unnecessary for you to call that guy out on his racist comment. Like, you're just think you're better than everyone. I was just like, okay, like, do I really? Then I try to engage, and then they're just like, oh, see, you're just angry. And I'm like, okay, this is not worth my time. So I realized I was wasting all this time and energy on responding to this shit. So I tell my VA, okay, can you please just read through the comments? If someone seems sincere and they want to engage in dialogue, then fucking show it to me. Otherwise, I don't want to see it. Right. Or you know, you can just choose to not look at it altogether. Like my actor friends, they don't even read the reviews because it mind fucks them too much. So of course, if it's positive, it's super uplifting. But if it's negative, it can really throw them off, right? So like, I just don't even read it. And you probably have read books about like chefs and other artists. They're like, I don't even read the reviews, right? Yeah, don't let it fuck with you, okay? Okay. Let me see, I got some comments here. What we got going on here? Oh yeah, see, I knew it was you, Dayanira. Oh, Anna, thanks. Thanks for loving my podcast. Love your name. Okay, so we have, you can choose to play it safe and not stand out and avoid criticism. 2, you can just choose to not fucking read the criticism, right? Listen, I used to say this on Outward Bound courses. A ship in harbor is safe, but that is not what ships are built for. Humans are resilient motherfuckers, right? We were not built to not have any challenge. We were built to put ourselves out there. Okay. Okay. All right. So what else can we do when we receive this criticism? One is we also need to counter it with positive feedback. And this is science-based, right? From positive psychology. For every one negative thought, ideally there's 5 to counter that. They did a bunch of studies with teams, and they found that the most successful teams had 5 positive comments for every 1 negative comment when they were meeting, right? Or providing feedback. Medium performing, I think, was 1.9 positive to negative, and the poorest performing 3 negative to 1 positive. Listen, we have a thing called negativity bias, where our brain is set to look out for negative shit to keep us safe. It makes sense. It's evolutionary, right? And so we need to offset that, because what safe things, fun things, the brain is not going to be as looking out for because there's no threat in those. So we have a negativity bias. So we need to acknowledge that because it's not serving us anymore in this particular context, right? If you're walking down an alley, turn your fucking negative bias on, right? Because then you can notice some scary shit if it's happening. But when you're putting yourself out there, it's not helpful if it sends you into a panic attack. So we need to acknowledge this negativity bias and counter it with positive thinking. Remember, this also applies to your own criticism, because we all are going to have like our own critique, right? We're going to have our own negative self-talk, affirmations of our negative beliefs going on in our mind. So if we can counter that with positive thoughts, we can do that. And I don't just mean thoughts. I mean, look for fucking evidence, because like, let's say, okay, I get this article comment that's like, man, you made me angry. Like, okay. And there's all these other ones that are good. We've all had that experience, right? We get a bunch of accolades. We have one negative comment and we tunnel vision onto that. That's optional. Okay. So I want to encourage you to look for the positive comments, look for the evidence, right? And apply those thoughts. Like, look at, okay, all these people said all these awesome things about me. I got one negative comment. I'm going to focus on these positive ones. Or if you're shit talking yourself, right? Oh, you're not cut out for this. You're not good enough. Well, where's the evidence I am good enough? Oh, I got this job. I like did this interview, or I scored this on the GREs or the MCATs or whatever it is, right? Like, where's the evidence that you are capable, right? Oh, I just pulled off a fucking huge busy day yesterday. right? All of those things can be evidence. So you want to counter that. Okay. So just to recap again, we've got, you could play it safe in vanilla and not take the risks, but that is not what humans were built for, but you're welcome to choose that. 2, you cannot read the criticism. 3, you can counteract it with evidence to the contrary, positive evidence, right? Now, some of you might be saying, okay, so if we are just not reading the feedback, or we're just like applying positive thinking, isn't that ignoring some potential truth? And I'm really glad you might be wondering that, because it can lead to some level of denial or some level of extreme avoidance, right? So that's not what I'm advocating for here. I'm advocating for what best serves you. And if we really ask that question honestly, it's not to ignore truth, right? So another way you can deal with criticism that really opens it up for you is, what is true about this? Like, I was taught when you're receiving feedback to ask, like if you're feeling super defensive, to be like, what's the 2% truth in this? It feels safer to ask what's the 2% truth than how is this totally true, right? So we can say, what's the 2% truth in this? And however, Byron Katie tried asking, what if this is true? Like when her kids came to her and were like, you were not a good mother, we felt shitty when you were our mother, right? Like, she's asking, those aren't their exact words, obviously, but she's like, what if what they're saying is true, right? It takes away the defensiveness, the fear of hearing it and having to be on guard. We're going to be better listeners, and the other person is going to feel more heard, right? So while this episode's more about your livelihood, that particular tip can apply to feedback from friends and family and all of that as well, right? Right. But when the delivery is done really poorly, right? Like if they're aggressive or trying to hurt your feelings, or they're internet trolls, it can be harder to do that, but it's still possible, right? So when someone comments on my article, you're clearly an angry feminist who has to pick fights because you think you're better than everyone else. I can ask, any truth to that? Fuck yeah, there's some truth to that. Maybe not 100% true, but yeah, I can be an angry anti-racist feminist who will speak out to racists, even if it makes them and everyone else and the dear reader uncomfortable, right? And I do think in those moments that I'm morally correct. So, oh well, busted, some truth to that feedback, right? So we can ask, what's the 2% truth in this feedback, in this criticism? Is there any truth to what they're saying? Then we can decide what to do with it. Like, I'm okay with that truth, right? Or I want to change some things, right? Remember, life is 50-50. The first noble truth, the existence of suffering. It's impossible to be perfect all the time, right? So look for the truth in the feedback and be careful of our brain adding to that feedback, right? So like, let me stop that there. Okay. So if we make a typo or we used a spiteful tone and that we're not very proud of. Oh, hold on. It's saying something about my sound. I'm hoping you can hear me. Anyway, so let's say we created some new tool and it didn't work very well, right? We can fix those things, but we get really fucked in the head when we add to it what it means about who we are, right? When we think that we're not worthy or intelligent or cut out for this work. That is not helpful, right? We can accept the part of the feedback that is truth and learn from it and integrate it to do things better next time, and then let the rest go. Or we can decide it isn't true and let go. You know, at Outward Bound, I miss the healthy communication working for them. But when I worked at Outward Bound, we would say before we gave feedback, hey, remember, this is just feedback, take it or leave it. And it creates such a safe space to give the feedback, because you're like, and if my feedback's full of shit, they're going to take it or leave it, right? But it's also safer to receive it when it's delivered that way, right? So I wanted to end on listen. When you are in receiving feedback, you also want to consider, as part of what getting curious about its validity or the truth in it, who's dishing it out. Who is giving you the feedback? You may have heard Brene Brown say, like, if you're not in the arena getting your ass kicked, I don't want to hear from you, or something to that effect, Totally, right? Is the person giving you feedback also putting themselves out there, also willing to examine their own truths and opinions, also willing to receive feedback, willing to dialogue, engage in growth and evolution? Personally, I don't want to waste time. If someone's not doing that themselves, like, I'm not going to listen, because you're not playing the game either. And I want you, if you're going to give me feedback, to be in the same place, taking those risks, right? Okay. Y'all get it? Yes. One Woman's Yoga said, I keep a folder of loving kindness that I can go back to and reference. Absolutely. Shorty says, this has been so helpful. It was crazy with getting feedback at work last week, and this is really helping me. Good. Yeah. Listen, you are safe in harbor, but that is not what you were built for. Right? The more you put yourself out there, the more risks you take. Like, I have so many clients in Freedom School and the Adventure Mastermind. They're writing books. They are starting businesses. They are starting pocket. They're like putting themselves out there. Yeah, it's like true. You're opening yourself up to that. And it's okay. You will survive. You can learn skills to manage that anxiety, because what we don't want is for this fear to hold us back from living our best selves and for putting ourselves out there and putting our creation into the world that only we can do. Like, every human being, I believe, was here for a reason, a very special reason that cannot be replaced by anyone else or anything else. And what a shame if we let that anxiety, which is an emotion, it's just an emotion, if we let that keep us from living our best life, right? Okay. So don't let the fear of potential criticism like override the pain that you know you'd feel if you didn't even try and didn't even go for it, okay? All right, my friends. So come join the Adventure Mastermind, because we are enrolling. We have 3 spots left. adventuremastermind.com. If you're not sure, just apply. We do have some partial scholarships available, so keep that in mind. You can talk to me about it. adventuremastermind.com. We do a retreat in Hawaii, one in Alaska. It's going to be fucking amazing. And we have 6 months of amazing curriculum and deep dive coaching in between. So check that out. Okay. adventuremastermind.com. And if you also get access to Freedom School when you're an Adventure Mastermind, join freedomschool.com. You can check that out. But right now we are getting tight on the Adventure Mastermind enrollment. So come join me. Okay. All right, loves, have an amazing week. I will see you next week, or I will talk to you on an Adventure Mastermind discovery call. All right. You take care. I love you so much. Next time I'll be in Alaska. I'll probably be wearing different clothes. All right. Ciao. Namaste, Barbara. You're welcome.